Come get the facts about the odors coming from Chula Vista, including what you can expect from the Otay Landfill. Coming up. Welcome to Life in Chula Vista. This channel is all about living in Chula Vista and the surrounding South Bay communities. My name is Timothy Manglicmot. I'm a local realtor here in Chula Vista. And in this video, I'm going to give you the facts about all the smelly odors coming from Chula Vista. This isn't going to be one of your typical sob story news videos where you see an interview of a local resident living next to the landfill and how they reached out to the city officials and heard nothing. Instead, I want to arm you with the facts and the suggestions on what you can do about the smelly odors in the Otay Landfill coming from Chula Vista. Believe it or not, there are 3 sources for odors in Chula Vista. And in this video, I'm going to cover one of those 3 odors, which is the Otay Landfill first. I'll create a second video next week to cover the other 2 sources of smelly odors in Chula Vista. But in this one, it's just going to cover the Otay Landfill. So without further ado, let's get into it. Real quick, as we get into this video, I do got to say this video does break my heart a bit for all the people who have moved to one of these smelly areas within Chula Vista and bought a house and just can't get out because they're stuck there. If you're looking to move to Chula Vista, I beg you to contact a local realtor. That's why we're here. We can help answer any questions you might have and also to make sure you don't move to one of these smelly areas within Chula Vista. I'm a local realtor. My contact information will be in the description below. I'm happy to talk to anyone. Call me, text me, email me, set up a calendar invite. If you have any questions at all about whether or not your move to the local area is going to be a right move and not in one of these smelly areas, I'm happy to talk it through with you. Again, my contact information will be in the description below. I'm happy to help anybody. All right, so let's get into it. So in Chula Vista, there are actually 3 sources for smells that I'm going to cover over the course of 2 videos. Number 1 is the Otay Landfill, which I'll cover in this video. Number 2 is the TJ sewage, which comes on the southern portion of Chula Vista in southern San Diego County. And then number 3 is East Otay Mesa Landfill, which if you live in the southern part of Chula Vista, you will likely either be affected by the odor of the TJ sewage, or if you live in Costa Verde or East Lake, believe it or not, one day you might be affected by the East Otay Mesa Landfill, which hasn't been built yet, but it's definitely on the horizon. And again, I'm going to cover the TJ sewage and the East Otay Mesa Landfill in the next video coming up next week. And so in this video, I'm going to cover the Otay Landfill, which if you live in the villages of Escaya or the Sumbo 2 development, you'll be very familiar with. So to understand the Otay Landfill, we have to look at the current contract between the City of Chula Vista and Republic Services. Here is the actual contract. And all this stuff is public information. Anybody who wants to do a quick Google search can find any of this information that I'm about to show you. And it's all here on the internet. Again, anybody can find it. There's no secret sauce with this one. So the city is actually contractually bound to Republic Services, which is a major reason why the city officials can't simply just terminate the contract, which I'll get into a little bit more later. The city actually entered into this current contract with Republic Services in June 2014. And from June 2014, there are actually 2 options to extend the contract. So the first term of this contract actually ended pretty recently on June 30th, 2024. And then Republic Services had the first option to extend the contract from June 30, 2024 for another 7 years. I asked the City of Chula Vista if Republic Services actually exercised this option to extend the contract, and here's what I received. So last year, Republic Services actually let the city know that they would be extending their contract until June 2031. So what does that mean for you? That means you can expect Republic Services to be in the Otay Landfill until at least 2031. And that's because, again, Republic Services extended their contract from June 30, 2024, again to June 30, 2031. So I'll say that one more time. Republic Services has a contract with the city that lasts until June 30, 2021. So the next question that you might ask is what happens after 2031? So after 2031, the city of Chula Vista actually has the option to extend the contract a second time for another 8 years until June 30, 2039. So not Republic Services for the second extension, but the city of Chula Vista has the option to extend a second time from June 30, 2031 to June 30, 2039. Now you might be wondering, will the city of Chula Vista actually exercise this option to extend the contract? And to answer that question, I suggest you keep watching until the end of this video, as I'll get into it a little bit more later. But there are several contract provisions that you should be aware of within this contract that I'm about to show you. First is, why can't the city just terminate the contract with public services and just close the landfill? Like, why can't the city officials just close the landfill? And to understand that question, we need to look at the termination clause of the contract. So Chula Vista can actually only terminate the contract if there's a failure on Republic Services to perform the services and execute on the contract. So that means uncontrollable circumstances, like for example, recently when the city workers in Chula Vista chose to strike a few years ago, that's not a cause for termination because that's outside of the control of Republic Services. But if your public services just simply fails to execute on the contract, again, outside of things that are outside of the control, like one of those strikes that happened a couple years ago, if your public services just fails to pick up our trash, then the city can decide to terminate the contract because there is a clause in there in the contract that allows the city of Chula Vista to terminate the contract. And here are just some other interesting facts about this contract with City of Chula Vista and Republic Services. First is that the city of Chula Vista does not allow any residential properties to be constructed within 1,000 feet of the Otay Landfill. But then that means that within 1,000 feet or more of the Otay Landfill, the city of Chula Vista, again per this contract, does allow residential units to be built. So that means the village of Escaya or Sunbow 2, any of those are 1,000 feet or more. And so this contract allows any of those villages and developments to be built. Another interesting fact about this contract is that Republic Services is actually required to enclose the landfill with berms per section 2.11 of this contract. And if you're unfamiliar with what a berm is, they're essentially these large walls that would outline the perimeter of the landfill, which I don't believe the Otay landfill has all around it. And again, this is part of the contract per section 2.11 of the contract between City of Chula Vista and Republic Services, where Republic Services does have to construct these berms that outline the perimeter of the Otay landfill. But did you know that San Diego County's Department of Environmental Health also has oversight over the landfills within San Diego County, and particularly the Otay landfill? The county's Department of Environmental Health must review all San Diego landfills every 5 years to assess the capacity of each landfill. The trash has to go somewhere, and at some point the landfills will be full, and so the county is charged with tracking how full these landfills get every 5 years. And when they do that, the county department also provides an estimate for when they think that each landfill will reach its capacity. In particular, the county thinks that the Otay landfill will reach capacity by February 25th, 2030. Here's a quick screenshot from a report from the county that shows all the landfills within San Diego County and when they expect all those landfills to reach capacity. So it's pretty clear in this table that by 2030, the county does think that the Otay landfill will be full. But unfortunately, landfills in that chart can go past their limit. And the county does have actual examples, again, local examples, where the landfills actually went past the date that they published in these tables. In particular, a recent example is the Miramar landfill, where the Miramar landfill just simply piled on trash 25 feet higher and pushed past the 2030 limit that the county set for when they thought they would be full. So February 2030 from the county for the Otay landfill, I would estimate that as a soft date for when the Otay landfill might be full and for when the Otay landfill might be closed once it hit capacity. So I know I just threw a lot of facts at you guys. So let's look at what it all means. To summarize here a little bit, the Otay landfill has 3 possible dates for when it can be open until. First is February 2030, again, which is based on when the county's Department of Environmental Health estimates that the Otay landfill will reach its landfill capacity. June 2031 is the second date that's out there, and that's when the current Republic Services contract with the City of Chula Vista ends. And then you get to June 2039, which is the second extension for the Republic Services contract with the City of Chula Vista, again, that the City of Chula Vista can exercise. So out of these 3 dates, if I had to take my best guess on when I think the Otay landfill might close, My best guess is that the Otay Landfill reaches capacity in 2030 and then is open until 2031 when the city's contract with public services ends. And then after that, a few things can be done with the Otay Landfill. And so now let's get into some good news. At some point, the Otay Landfill will be full, it will reach capacity, and it'll have to be closed. And again, my best guess is that this will happen around 2031 in that time frame when the city's contract with public services ends. And after that happens, what happens to this landfill is it'll get capped. And so capped is an official term for landfills when they reach their useful life. And then what happens is the landfill gets topped off with soil or essentially clay to cap it off. Again, I'm not an expert on landfill, so I won't cover the details on what happens when the landfill gets capped. But I'll give you my kind of layman's understanding of when a landfill gets capped. So again, when a landfill gets capped, there is clay soil that gets put on top. There are water and gas extraction pipes, whatever accumulates in the area. Just imagine a bunch of trash accumulating, and there will be some water that accumulates at the bottom, and then just some off gas that happens from the landfill after it gets capped. And so there's going to be some piping to kind of pipe these things out once the landfill does get capped. So after capping occurs, there are a few options for the landfill. The first option that I'll mention are solar farms. So recently, there have been several solar farms within the US that have been capped and have been converted into these big, large solar farms. And there are obviously many benefits to these solar farms. One, for residents, they don't have to worry about the smell, for one. Number two is you do have local energy serving your local area as opposed to having this landfill there. And then three, you don't have your water or gas just lingering around for residents if you cap it off and then you convert it to solar. Option number two that I'll mention, which is a popular one that's come around here in California, is turning a landfill into a park. And so recently in LA, there was the Puente Hills landfill, which used to be the largest landfill in the state of California. Right now, this landfill is actually being converted into this giant park for LA residents to use. This picture is an actual mock-up of that park, which from my understanding will be this massive park within LA. Again, that the Puente Hills landfill, the largest landfill within California, is being converted to now so that the residents of LA can utilize this landfill area as an actual park. And then the last option is a wildlife habitat. So landfills can be capped and they can become just natural habitats for the local wildlife to use in that area. So three options for when a landfill gets capped, it ends its useful life, and then it's converted into one of these three options, either solar farms, a park, or just a wildlife habitat. So something to look forward to, again, in my estimate of 2031. So what can you do about the Otay landfill right now, especially if you live in the area and you just hate the smell? I've seen a few things that people are trying. Change.org campaigns are out there, for example. And then the city of Chula Vista does have the city of Chula Vista's waste reduction plan, which is a plan to just divert waste and promote reuse to limit trash going into the landfill. But as I mentioned, the trash has to go somewhere. I use trash every day. I just threw a wrapper away just now. And so I don't see any way for folks to just get rid of trash. Because again, there are a lot of residents within Chula Vista. There's almost 300,000. And I guarantee you that every single one of us are generating trash. So the trash has to go somewhere. And so in my opinion, I would actually encourage you to engage with your local council member and encourage a planning study. I know it sounds weird, but a planning study is needed to figure out where all the trash goes and what we can do about our future in terms of all the trash that's getting generated and where that's going to go. Especially because, again, the Otay landfill will reach its cap here pretty soon. And as far as I know, there hasn't been a plan yet for us to put our trash in the future. A planning study is the classic government way to solve things, which I know will take a while if the city engages in that. But if you just look at the city council meetings that the city posts, you'll see that the city does engage in a lot of planning studies, which is their way to think through thoughtfully how to engage on these big projects, like what we're going to do with the next big landfill. Again, the city of Chula Vista's trash has to go somewhere, and the city's going to have to figure out where all that trash goes. One option is going to be the East Otay landfill, which is an extremely separate topic that, again, I'll get into in the second video. And this is going to be also closely tied to the TJ sewage problem, which in my opinion is going to be even a bigger problem than this Otay Landfill that we have within the city of Chula Vista. Again, I will cover this in the next video. So to wrap up this video, these are the facts about the Otay Landfill. Again, my name is Timothy Manglicmot. I am a local to Chula Vista and I'm a local realtor. If you're looking for housing in the area, I strongly encourage you to reach out to a local realtor so you don't get stuck in a landfill or anywhere that has smelly odors within Chula Vista. Again, my advice is free and my contact information will be in the description below. I can call me, text me, email me, set up a calendar invite. I'm happy to talk to anybody, especially if you're looking to move to the area and you're just worried about moving to the wrong spot. I'm happy to help anybody in their search. And with that, I will see you guys on the next one. Again, there'll be a second follow-up video to talk about the TJ sewage problem and this potential new landfill in East Otay Mesa.